City Garden was started as a small preschool back in 1994 by Trish Curtis, who saw a need to bring Montessori education to the city and to make it accessible for families across income and race. And in 2006, other parents and I, experiencing the desperation that many parents in our city face in regards to educational options, particularly in terms of the racial segregation that still exists in our schools, we got together other community members and worked with Trish to create a high-quality, racially and socioeconomically integrated neighborhood Montessori school. The preschool was started in an old tavern on Newstead with 4 children, and our charter school then was started in 2008 in the basement of a church not far from here with just 53 children. And at that time, we had to knock on doors and practically beg people to get them to even consider enrolling their children in our little experimental school. But now we serve 260 children, and we have a substantial wait list. And last year, we received a 97% score on our state evaluation. So last night, we graduated several of our babies who were 4 years old and started this big vision. So our school and our community are far from perfect, but we have accomplished some pretty amazing things here. And we believe it's important to share our story because City Garden hasn't come to be just by luck or by happenstance. There was a vision for something more, something bigger, something better, something great. And there was the grit and passion and a heck of a lot of hard work and heartache and loss and tons of joy from a few individuals who were determined to make it happen. And the spirit of entrepreneurship is what keeps City Garden going, what makes us continue to improve and grow every year, every day. And we're constantly determined to bring to fruition this vision for something great for our kids, for our community. And we keep inviting new people into this entrepreneurial work. That's why we have you all here tonight. We invite you into this work with us. And we believe that this spirit is what creates great things. It's what feeds people individually. It's what creates beauty and joy, spaces for fellowship and friendship, things that we need for our homes and our families, our daily lives. It's what affects change, and indeed, we believe is the fabric of community. It's what creates and gives meaning to our lives. So tonight we invite you into the spirit of entrepreneurship, to be inspired, to get excited, get determined about what you can do, about what possibility. Together we continue, how we together can continue to build great communities and an amazing city. We're joined by a wildly gifted and ambitious group of people here tonight who share their stories and their own successes and challenges. And we're very privileged to have, to kick off our conversation, Travis Sheridan, who's the founding executive director of Venture Cafe Foundation in St. Louis. Travis has spent the past decade working with more than 400 startups in California and St. Louis. His goal is to use innovation and entrepreneurship to drive community and economic development. Travis is a co-founder of both 59 Days of Code and Global Hack. These competitions are creators of community and help identify talent. A frequent speaker, Travis honed his skills while doing stand-up comedy for more than 3 years. That's why we really have you. The St. Louis Venture Cafe Gathering is held every Thursday at the 4240 Duncan Avenue building in the Cortex Innovation District from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. Everyone's invited. And the Venture Cafe Gathering now draws more than 400 people per week, serving as a physical nexus for helping innovators and entrepreneurs find one another and collaborate to bring their dreams to reality. These Thursday evening gatherings provide a space for conversations and scheduled programs to inspire a wide range of attendees from around the world to connect. Even in this digital world, it's important to have a physical space. Shared physical spaces provide common meeting ground and a forum for semi-serendipitous encounters that often foster brainstorming and drive creativity. Meeting in person establishes the trust that's so crucial to working together, particularly on risky, underfunded projects. And if that sounds familiar, if this fits your picture of City Garden, or your own startup, or a group you're connected to, you can see why we are very excited to partner with Travis and his staff at Venture Cafe. The cafe is open to all members of the innovation community who want to contribute. And from its very beginnings, Venture Cafe has worked to build an inclusive, diverse entrepreneur community, working to foster collaboration, innovation, and a better city. We at City Garden feel very much alignment with Venture Cafe's mission and Travis's own philosophy and approach, and we're thrilled to welcome him as our keynote speaker this evening.
Good evening. How are you all doing? Good. My notes here. So I want to start with a story that really rings true, I think, and is very consistent with what we're doing here tonight. So part of Venture Cafe is our weekly gatherings, but we just wrapped up our March to May Innovation Boot Camp, where we had 24 6th through 12th graders who all had light bulb moments working on those light bulbs over a 10-week period. And we had our kickoff event that happened to fall on a Wednesday. And it was the same Wednesday that the Department of Justice released their report about Ferguson. And so we rallied all of these kids together over the Cortex District, the kids, their parents, their siblings, all of our instructors and our mentors, and everybody came together to celebrate. And they were celebrating these 6th through 12th graders who had an idea and they wanted to build a business around it. And one of the mentors or one of the instructors stopped me afterward and he said, "Travis, this is a great event, but where's the media?" So I'll tell you where the media is. The media is about 5 to 10 miles away over in Ferguson, covering the Department of Justice report, which I think is a very important thing for them to cover. And the reason why this next statement rang true with me, and actually I carry with me every day now, is he said, but if they're trying to figure out the solution to Ferguson, it's sitting in this room. It's sitting with these 6th through 12th graders who come from the north, the south, the east, and the west, and the central part of Missouri in our region. Actually, I should say Missouri and Illinois, because they're from both sides of both rivers, all coming together to work on their ideas, to take their idea to market. And the reason we did it from March to May is so that they wouldn't have a summer job, but during the summer months they were going to be entrepreneurs. They were going to run their business. I remember in 8th grade, my grandparents gave me the opportunity to be their landscaper for their preschool. They paid me 25 bucks a week to mow the half acre. And I had a stepbrother who was a year older than me, Danny. And Danny said, "Well, Travis, you're doing this landscaping job. Any way I can help you out?" And I said, "Well, yes, Danny. How much would it cost me for you to come help me?" And he said, "I'll do it for 10 bucks a week." I suddenly was a manager. It was great. Now, and Danny didn't know that I was getting 25 bucks a week, so I was paying him the 10, which was perfect for me because I got to sit inside on one of those nice little cots and drink juice boxes for the entire 2 hours that we were mowing the lawn. But Danny got really upset with me because I was making $15 for nothing and he was making $10 for mowing the lawn. And I said, "Danny, it's management." When I think about the cross-section and the nexus of innovation and entrepreneurship, and I look at especially the Montessori model, and I was doing, this is just happenstance, it was serendipitous, that I was able to take a tour of this facility just last week and hear the story and learn a little bit more. And I often talk about innovation as a process to improve the human condition. And I think about this quote that I pulled on from Marie Montessori that said, "Preventing conflict is the work of politics. Establishing peace is the role of innovation, is the work of innovation, or work of education." Like education is trying to create a better environment. Innovation is trying to create a better environment for the human condition to exist. And so this is the first time in my career, the very first time, where I don't care about entrepreneurship. I really care about innovation. Innovation as a mindset. Innovation as a way to improve the condition in which we all live. And so at Venture Cafe, our focus is really on innovation. And we look at innovation in a broad sense. So we look at innovation in education and government and the arts and the nonprofit sector or the social enterprise sector. And we look at innovation in advanced manufacturing. We look at all of these things, and yes, sometimes innovation might lead to a commercial application, which might lead to wealth creation and entrepreneurship. But innovation in education means better student learning outcomes. Innovation in government means a better served populace. Innovation in the nonprofit and the social enterprises means the needs of those that have the greatest need are being met. And that's where I really love the cross-section of innovation. Now, I gave a talk recently about this whole idea of changing the world, because I don't like changing the world. I think it's way too audacious of a task, and I am too small of a person to really change the world. Back in probably 96, I used to have this little stick posted on my mirror every morning that said, change the world. That was my call to action every morning when I left the house, change the world. And I would get home disappointed, because guess what I didn't do at all? Nowhere close. Changing the world was not anything that I accomplished that day. And then I sat down with a young entrepreneur, he and his wife, who were trying to, they had a sandwich company, a sandwich shop. And they were about to file bankruptcy. They were going to close up shop, and they came to talk to me about how they could not close up shop. And we had a conversation, and we talked about some strategy, and they, lo and behold, were able to stay in business. And I came home, I looked at that sticker again, and I said, you know what, I sure didn't change the world, but there's something else that I can do on a daily basis. And I just looked at that sticker a little bit longer, and I just wrote the letters IR next to the word the. And I realized that if I set out every day to change their world, the individual relationships, the I and the R that I come in contact with every single day, if I change their world, then the world will get changed eventually, because we have more and more people that are trying to change their world, their individual worlds, their limited sphere of influence that we all have. And when I look at the structure of a school like this, there are teachers and administrators and students and parents who all buy into the system that the world is changed through individual relationships, not grand schemes and grand plans. And so that leads me to really believe that innovation can be that process to improve the human condition. One person at a time, one student's life at a time, one student experience at a time. And when I look back at these 24 students that went through our March to May boot camp, their worlds were changed. Our one rule for these students, and I've learned this, I'm a transplant to St. Louis, but I've learned this one rule. You don't ask people where they went to school. So our rule for these students was, over this 10-week period, we don't ask each other where we went to school or where we're currently going to school. For 10 weeks, we are all part of the same classroom. We are all going to the same school. And you know what? Those students, believe it or not, don't even care where each other goes to high school or grade school or middle school. What they care about is, so what are you working on? How can I help you? And the ideas that they brought, the light bulb moments that they brought every week as they were building out their business, they had to have a social impact component. Now, I often refer to myself as a capitalist socialist. I really want the businesses that I work with to make a whole lot of money and then fund a lot of good programs in the community. But if you just want to fund and you don't have a business model, then you're not going to make as much money, and then you can't fund as much. So these students were coming up with these ideas that had business models associated with them, but at the same time they were looking at how they were going to make a social impact with the businesses they were doing. And I really feel like every generation that comes after the generation before it, has fewer hang-ups, is less bigoted, and has a greater worldview than the generation that came before it. And I'm a Gen Xer. I thought we had the best worldview that was out there. But I look at these young kids, and I look at how they are supporting each other in this process. And as I was walking around and seeing these kids at the Montessori school here, seeing how they were interacting with each other, and interacting with the teachers, and serving lunch, and being part of the overall system, I saw that these students have fewer hang-ups. And it's our job as their elders to make sure they keep it that way. And let's not ruin it, right? Because they're doing awesome things. And so when I look at what we can do here, there's this I am not a romantic. I'll say I'm not a romantic person. I think I am, but I'm not. And here's where it all came to light. My wife, who, when she was still my girlfriend, looked at me very lovingly and she said, "Travis, you make me so happy." Which is a great thing to hear. Think about that. Doesn't that feel nice? If I say to you, "Brad, you make me so happy," I don't even know you, and you feel good. You're smiling, right? So my girlfriend says to me, "Travis, you make me so happy." And here was my response without missing a beat. So I'll reply, "Travis, you make me so happy? No, I create an environment in which your happiness is the most likely outcome." I will not be writing for Hallmark anytime soon. And so, thankfully, I now have that as an object lesson going forward. But I look at what we try to do with either the field of education, or with entrepreneurship, or even with economic development. We ask ourselves, how can we make our students successful? How can we make our communities safe? How can we make entrepreneurs not fail and increase their likelihood of success? And the fact of the matter is, just like I cannot make my wife happy, I can create an environment in which her happiness is the most likely outcome. We cannot make our students successful, but through innovation and broad-minded thinking, we can create environments in which our student success is the most likely outcome. I want a confidence rate of 95%, that 95% of the time, my wife is going to be happy. Right? 2 standard deviations from the mean. I want it within that bandwidth. It does not work on a greeting card. But it does work in the field of education. It does work in the field of innovation. We do want to create these environments in which success, student success, entrepreneurial success, economic development success is the most likely outcome. So I will not, if you want me to write, ghostwriter for those flowers you're going to send to your significant other, don't ask me to do that. And the reason I know that we'll be successful, and I've been having this conversation with more and more people, and the thing I like about schools and education systems that are embracing innovation and that are looking for innovation explosions, is they use these 5 words. They often begin conversations with, in what ways can we? They do not believe that there is only one path to success. In fact, they do not even teach their students that there is one path to the right answer. They teach students, they're bringing up a population of students who will have those words on their lips. In what ways can we? When we're faced with the next Ferguson situation, we'll have a group of students that will say, in what ways can we make sure that another Michael Brown situation does not happen? When we have economic disparity, they will have a group of students that will say, in what ways can we do it differently? They will not think that it goes from point A to point B. And unfortunately, we have too many systems in this world, education, government, and the like, traditional systems, that don't believe in what ways can we. And the thing that I love about charter schools, and especially a school like City Garden, is that in what ways can we is what started the creation of a school like this. The fact that parents got together and said, something else is different. It has to be a better way. And it's not just one better way, but there's a model out there. There's a number of ways that this can be different. And so when we have young people, and we have entrepreneurs here who are constantly, every day, waking up saying, in what ways can we? In what ways can we keep the lights on? In what ways can we take the trash out? In what ways can we find a new customer? In what ways can we recognize our employees and we have nothing to pay them? In what ways can we do this, that, and the other thing? I love that mindset. And as a new person to St. Louis, people tell me that St. Louis is very parochial, and they don't like outsiders, and they don't like change. And I think that might be true to a certain extent, but not in the innovation community, not in a community like this that is wired for in what ways can we. And so there are 3 things that I'm going to leave you with that are like the tools that I use for the best in what ways can we moments. And the best way to manage not only systems, but people and environments in order to create the greatest likelihood of success. The first one is this whole idea of appreciative inquiry. And this is it sounds weird. It's a class I took in grad school, right? It's like the very typical, I studied this once and now I know everything. No, but when I learned about this in grad school, I quickly adopted it. The whole idea of appreciative inquiry is this. In every organization, something works. Let's identify what works and replicate it and invest in that. It's not as much about problem solving or putting out fires, and it's not a deficit-based approach. It is an asset-based approach. So in every situation we come in contact with, whether it be education or social injustice, we have to ask ourselves, what is working? And how can we replicate what's working? How can we invest in what's working? I've seen too many companies that try to cut spending and trim the fat because things aren't working. They're so deficit-based. And what I love about an environment like this is like, this works, let's funnel more resources, time, attention, possibly even money. Let's funnel more resources to that. And we do that with our students, right? If students are doing well, we want to reward that and encourage that because they're going to become models. When I started doing the youth boot camp for our 6th through 12th graders, my mindset was, let's go find those kids with the knuckleheads. I like to use the word knucklehead because that's what I was. Let's find those knuckleheads and give them an environment where they can be successful. And I toured the Youth Learning Center, and I talked to the executive director there, and he said something very profound. He said, Travis, we don't look for knuckleheads. We look for high potential kids who are friends of knuckleheads. Because these high potential kids, it's not a seek and save the lost. This is leveraging the assets that we have and making them achieve their success. And they are going to be role models to the knuckleheads out there. So I realized my stepbrother, Danny, was a knucklehead. Right? But he didn't waste his summer. He got a job with his manager, right? So we get to put environments, we look for these environments where we have these assets and we get to leverage these assets in order for them to achieve their success. The second idea is this whole idea of what's called polarity management. I think this is very indicative of, especially of a city like St. Louis. So polarity management is the opposite of problem solving. So instead of viewing things as problems to solve, that there is a problem and we need a solution, which is a very Western way of thinking, a more Eastern way of thinking is things are polarities. We have a pendulum that might swing to the negative side and a pendulum that might swing to the positive side. And in each side, there are assets and deficits of those. So if I think of the idea of revitalization, in a community that is, that is in disrepair and needs revitalization, there are a lot of negatives when we think about that, but there are also a lot of positives. It's cheaper to do things. You have more freedom to do things. You can get away with a lot more stuff. You can, if you want to roll up your sleeves and get things done, you can, right? Because there aren't as many policies and procedures and rules. I live in Old North St. Louis. It's great. If you want an empty lot and do something, do it. Just try it. You can get some crown candy afterward, right? But if we swing to the other side where things are revitalized, we look at the positives, but there are some negatives that go with that. There's complacency, comfort, a lack of desire to change things anymore because things are working. And this whole idea of polarity management is one of those executive functions that needs to be in place so that people can continue to innovate, that people do not become comfortable. I could look at these entrepreneurs up here. Once they achieve whatever modicum of success, whatever measure of success they have, I don't think any of these folks will be satisfied and finally sit back and say, okay, good, done, right? They're going to figure out what they can do next in order to maintain that pendulum and keep it growing. And so that polarity management is really important. And so I think if I encapsulate all of this, let's not focus on trying to change the world. Let's look at the incremental efforts we have going on in a school like this where individual relationships, individual lives are being changed on a daily basis. And when your kids come home, talk to them about those life-changing moments. They have great ideas, right? These are the leaders of the next generation. When I was putting my advisory board together, and Chris Miller, who's to my left, was one of the people on my advisory board, I asked this young lady who was a senior at Wash U to serve on my advisory board, and she said, Travis, do you mean like a young friends of or a junior board of? I said, no. There is no Thanksgiving table, right? You have leadership attributes, not leadership potential. You are serving as my advisor. I trust what you have to say. So listen to your young people. Let them be advisors to you. Put them in positions of leadership and they will rise to the occasion. Focus on those individual relationships and we will see that the innovation will continue to explode. And education is one of the best ways to do it. I will say that the thing that I love best about charter schools is they can be early adopters of things. They have the flexibility and the pliability to just change stuff whenever they want to, within reason, within budget. But if there are new innovations that are coming out there, they can try it. They could take Trinity, for example, and try it out on their campus, right? That is one of the best things about a small, nimble environment like this. And when they do those things, they're going to continue to enhance the student learning outcome and the student experience. So those are my thoughts. I really thank you for inviting me out here. My grandmother is an educator. I was raised by educators. I was the first person in my family to go on to graduate school, and it feels really good to continue to foster education and draw the connection between education and innovation. So thank you. So like I said, when I was putting my advisory board together, and like what I really want are people that are not from that sector to really advise me. And so Chris Miller was one of the people that I asked to join that. So Chris is the founder and CEO of the Mission Center L3C and founding and managing member of the Mission Center Management Services LLC. Essentially, Chris does a lot of really smart stuff for social enterprises. And he and I truly agree that the term nonprofit needs to be out of our vocabulary. So these are all social enterprises, for-profit and nonprofit. He received his undergraduate degree from Truman State University, master's degree from University of Illinois, and has been on faculty at Wash U and in the Brown School for a number of years now. In running this Mission Center and serving as really the region's only incubator and accelerator for nonprofits and social enterprises, Chris is filling an enormous hole and need that's in this community. And leave it to a social worker to find a need that needs filled and building an opportunity around that. What I love about St. Louis and a person like Chris is, like I said, St. Louis is that place where there's a lot of things that are broken, but there are a lot of people that are interested in fixing them. And Chris is built an organization that makes sure that there are more nonprofit social enterprises that are well established and built the right way so those needs can continue to get met. So Chris, you have a panel to moderate. Please do it.
That was perfect. Thank you, sir. Well, I've been fortunate enough to be in the orbit of City Garden and Christie Hawk now stage with her and with these brilliant folks. I'm going to get right to it. And so in entrepreneurship, we require often, and many of you guys have probably experienced this, a 2-minute elevator pitch. So if you don't mind, right, I would like to go down the row and just have you guys give kind of your 2-minute, like what do you do, and how did you get started in this? The next question is going to be kind of what was your light bulb moment, as Travis said, right? So keep that for the next part of the discussion. But just who are you, what you doing, and how'd you get started? And we'll start with you, ma'am.
Sure. Hello, I am Jamila Owens Todd. I am a naturopathic doctor, and what that means is that I pursued a 4-year degree program which focused on alternative healing. So I don't know what the light bulb moment was, but I was...
That's the next question. So
Oh, okay, good. I'm jumping ahead. It's welcome to my life. So before this, I was a chemist, as a lab rat, as I often said, graduated from also degree in chemistry and French. And I actually loved the lab. I loved science. And I was a quality control chemist for the FDA and then at Mallinckrodt. And if you've ever known any chemists, they're all weirdos. But one of the things with chemistry is that as a quality control chemist, you're kind of the bottom of the rung of the chemist. Very important for it. But I wanted to get into research. And in Missouri, that wasn't necessarily happening. So I applied for a research position. I got hired at a pharmaceutical company, which was a wonderful place to work. It was a great place. But I realized being there every day, I wanted to be on the other side of the coin. And when you're in a lab and you're working with pharmaceuticals and you look at how harsh some of these products are and how you're kind of working at the upper limit of LD limit, which is this is a toxic substance and it can actually kill someone. But I had a love for herbs, which has always been part of my passion. And a lot of the herbs are used to make traditional pharmaceuticals. And so I kind of had a moment where I realized I wanted to do the research and the work on this other side, which was the alternative, and I found a 4-year degree program, and I pursued it. So being in St. Louis, I've been in practice for going on 8 years. There are 7 naturopathic doctors in the state of Missouri. There are 2 in St. Louis, myself and Cindy Willebrand, who's in Dr. Wesling's office. So we are kind of lone wolves being here. So every day is an innovative experience. Most of my time is spent educating people on what is it that I do, what do you work with, what types of illnesses, and I see it all. I see children, I see adults. I mean, there is no limit. Whenever there is healing needed, I feel like most of my day is spent letting people know that they are healers and just reminding you of that aspect. And unfortunately, that's not a reminder or not even a concept in traditional medicine. And so I feel like what I do is I give options, and I share options on how to progressively heal yourself or move forward or work integratively with the traditional medical system or work independently on your own. My husband thinks I have a horrible business model. I don't even know I'm up here. Because my goal is to get you better and to never come see me again, which goes against the pharmaceutical industry. Not that I'm 100% against them.
Next, sir.
I'm Keith Griffin, and my story is not as good as yours. Once again, I'm Keith Griffin. I am the publisher of Deluxe Magazine. Deluxe Magazine is St. Louis's only printed publication for the millennial ages 25 through 40. I know that kind of crosses over into Gen X a little bit, but we're the only urban publication that focuses on professional achievements of the millennial, which in a few years will be one of the strongest buying powers in the world. Not the light bulb, I'll wait for that. Before that, I've always been kind of like an entrepreneur trying to figure out what the next big move is. I've done things such as it's a lifestyle agency where I represent corporate brands, and I take their word, their message, and I translate that into the urban community, such as Tequila Avion and Pernod Ricard, which are the suppliers of that alcohol. I mean, that's really all I do. Deluxe is my baby. Been growing it for, like I said, for 6 years, and just trying to, maintain that niche and give a voice to a population that is really overlooked by general market advertising and marketing. It's kind of like, those people will do, whatever. But I think that population is what is going to control and can be influenced into what's happening in further generations. You know what I mean? Like, if you touch the millennial, that millennial is going to run the world, so why not go ahead and try to capture that voice now? So that's kind of what the magazine is about, and I think I'll pass the mic now.
Thank you, sir.
I'll do the abridged version of my life. My name is Jabron Burchett. I am the managing director of a company called HOSCO. HOSCO stands for Holistic Organic Sustainable Cooperative. And we are a progressive foods cooperative incubator. And our focus is teaching individuals how to grow their own vegetables, how to grow their own herbs, how to make value-added products. The company was started back in 2010. I moved back here from New York. I spent about 11 years in New York, and 3 of those years going back and forth to Austria, where I lived on a pumpkin farm for about 3 years, and learned how to press pumpkin seeds into a very healthy oil. And so, initially moving back, we started selling the oil here and giving other people opportunities to sell the oil as part of the cooperative, and that kind of spawned into us wanting to grow food. And I got really involved in the food movement and decided we would, in order for us to grow our company, we needed to partner with other institutions that are going to be around for quite some time. And that led us to partner with the St. Louis Public Schools, St. Louis Science Center, which is one of our main partners. We have a business relationship with them in which we actually are partners in a agricultural farm business. We are the leading consultants for a new ag gallery that's opening next year with the St. Louis Science Center. In addition to that, we teach at the Botanical Gardens. We teach mushroom growing, microgreen growing, aquaponics, and aquaponics, fish, and we're raising fish and plants in the same system. But our goal is to increase the amount of food locally because one is healthier for you, and I don't know if a lot of people know this, but on average, your food travels about 1,200 miles before it gets to the store. And that means once it gets there, generally it's not fresh. If the food that you find in the store on average is about 2 weeks old when it gets there. And there's only about I think the statistics were that there are only 3 days worth of food in the food supply. So that means if anything catastrophic happens to our supply chain, you'll start to see food disappearing from the stores almost immediately, and by day 3 you'll probably have no food in the store. So that kind of gotten me to thinking about what should we do so that we have food available locally within our communities. In addition to that, we have a training program that we run with St. Louis University, which is one of our partners, and it's an agro-culinary training program. It's a 12-week program. The students spend 4 days, 4 hours a day with us. It's Monday through Thursday, and then the other 4 hours they actually go to SLU, and they receive culinary training. And we actually help to place the individuals that complete the training program. If they don't come and work with us, we actually try to work and place them with some of our clients in the St. Louis area. And so food is one of those things that touches everybody. everybody has to eat. It's one of those things that is a recession-proof industry to be in. And I think it's something that we should all look at in terms of if we're going to be sustainable in the future. We need to produce probably about 70% more food on this planet. And in the process of doing that, we have our main pollinator that represents 1/3 of our food supply dying, which are the bees. And so these are some of the things that we share with the people that come work with us within the cooperative. And then we also go out and teach within the community as well. And so, like I said, I'll keep it abridged. I have a long history.
I love the abridged version of an entrepreneur. I should have warned Christy and the rest of the folks at City Garden, I'm about the worst person to be a moderator. My mother raised me really, really well, and I'm way too polite, right? So 2 minutes or something around it. But there's nothing more beautiful, right, than giving a microphone to an entrepreneur and letting them tell you what they think is important in quote-unquote 2 minutes. It's a beautiful thing. Moving on down the line, ma'am.
My name is Kay Cullen-Kendall, and I am an intentional, positive touch, healing, educating, change agent. And I know a lot of people go, what in the world? She don't put a whole bunch of words together. But really what that is for us is that I'm an owner of what's now considered a franchise, which is Massage Luxe. My company started along with my business partner 5 years ago as Intentions by Design, which is a wellness company providing training, coaching, and also public speaking and wellness in the industry of wellness and helping people to become well. I started off over 30 years ago as an educator in the school system, public school system, and have transformed myself so that I would not burn out and transition a killing that I might be posted in the World newspaper on the east side. So what I did was decide that it was time to not be an administrator in the educational arena in the St. Louis public schools and other public school institutions and start providing wellness education, because I was finding a lot of our individuals were dealing with a high level of stress, were finding themselves overwhelmed, nutritionally deficit, educationally deficit, spiritually deficit, emotionally deficit. And as a wellness change agent, I felt it was important for me to step in and provide those services one by one, innovation at a time, not at the world's time. But what we did is we decided that there was no direct service that we could provide for people after we given them the education and the talk. They had nowhere to go. So we became the only woman-owned, the only African-American-owned, the only license-owned Massage Luxe franchise owners in the country. And so we're excited that we are here in the St. Louis area to provide those services. We have 4 main services that we provide, therapeutic and spa services being one. We also provide hair removal and waxing service from head to toe, and as I like to tell some people who could benefit from the Rudy to the, y'all get that little and we also provide facials. I know, see, this is where you have to have laughter in the work. And I'm a jazzle. So if anybody is looking for rhinestones in special areas, let me know. I know, isn't that fun?
Duly noted.
Words, you do magazines, I do bling bling. So the other services that we provide is wellness education, and we do on-site and off-site spa services for any events that you have or a retreat that you're designing. We also come out and we do public speaking for you on a wellness event as a workshop leader and also public speakers. I got into this because it was time for us to stop talking about how ill we were and that it runs in the family. Ignorance runs in all families and most families. And it is time for us to be change agents to make sure that people have the information that they need in order to make better decisions, not for their dying, but for their living.
first private group networking application that's suitable for users of all ages, which is a mouthful. And people say, well, what exactly is that? If you think of group networking, which is our premise, it's the exact opposite of what you would think of if you think of social networking through a Facebook or an Instagram or a Twitter. Group networking is designed to be a private, where you interact in a private group. And the thing that is also very different about Friendly is that we are compliant with COPPA. So COPPA is the Children's Online Privacy and Protection Act. And how I got started with this was about, I've got a 20-year background in corporate America. So I have always had an entrepreneurial spirit. I had a light bulb moment that launched me into this particular direction. But after this light bulb moment, I did a whole lot of research and understood that cyberbullying and digital citizenship are huge issues right now. Cyberbullying statistics, there's a million studies out there, but statistics say anywhere from 37 to 52% of kids are getting cyberbullied, which it's no wonder that suicide is the third leading cause of death of teenagers. I could still tell stories that could make your head spin off. But digital citizenship is also a very important thing these days, because what kids don't necessarily understand when they discover Instagram or Twitter for the first time is that what they put out there stays with them for life. It's not the resume that I grew up with and created when I was 22 to highlight everything that's great about me or that I wanted to promote. Rather, these kids, the minute they're getting online, their resume starts. And so after I was able to pitch my story to a whole bunch of different people and finally was able to secure the right investors, we went through a development process that took about 5 years, because being able to be in a position to embrace COPPA meant that I had to figure out a way to integrate that into my website. And COPPA, by the way, says that you have to obtain verifiable parental consent in order to allow a child under the age of 13 to engage in social media, which is why there's the checkbox that when you go sign up for a social media account, said you have to say that you're 13, or hopefully you really are 13. We had to find a way to create a process within our site that would allow parents to get their kids on here in a really simple, fast way and be in compliance with COPPA. So essentially, what we do is we provide parents those training wheels and the ability to create a group, even set up their kids under their terms. So we're trying to put parents back in the driver's seat. When you decide that it's the right time for your kids to get engaged on social media, whether they're 8 or whether they're 12 or whether they're 15, you decide that, and then you can be the ones to set them up. And if they're really young, like my nephew who's 6 and has a Fredity account, then I know my brother's on there with him, and by default, every group that my nephew's involved in, my brother is a default member. By every group that my 12-year-old daughter is involved in, I'm a default member. And because we're COPPA compliant, this is an application that's safe and getting a lot of traction in schools and sports teams, dance studios, gymnastics groups, and the like. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you.
Well, I'm neither protecting children or providing bling bling or feeding the population, healing the population, or being the voice of the most powerful group in the population that's coming into the fold. So I feel a little overwhelmed by the talent on stage. But, I'm Tom Stem, I'm CEO of Goodellnet Consulting. We're in the neighborhood here with City Garden, and came into the neighborhood about 6 months ago. We're an IT consulting firm, so the easiest way to describe what we do is we're an outsourced IT department for small businesses. That's a really non-sexy way to put what we do, so I'll try to make the tech guy in the room that, you know, a dime a dozen, as Travis likes to say, which I agree with for the most part, but to try to make it sexy, what we really try to do is transform everyone that we come into contact with, whether it's our peers, whether it's our customers, whether it's our community. So we're out to make an impact using technology as a driver, as a solution for a lot of things that exist in the business environment that are hard to overcome. So we really try to be a partner to our clients, and you know, I think one of the things that I'm proud of, for instance, is within our client base. Last year, for instance, we supported the technology infrastructure of a client base that brought 600 new jobs to the economy in the St. Louis and Indianapolis areas last year alone, and you know, that's an impact that we can make by doing our jobs well and supporting the clients that we work with day in and day out, and we work with education institutions, we work with small business clients, et cetera. So I'll save my light bulb moment for later, but you know, I think in terms of what we do as a company, we can make a big impact, but you know, maybe not quite as altruistic as some of the folks up here. But one of the cool programs that we do have that we fold into our social impact arena is to take a lot of the older equipment that our clients are recycling out of their environments, and we take those out and we donated you know, computing resources to underprivileged. We've sent computers and machines over to Asia and Africa and in their city here in St. Louis. We work with the social justice program at St. Louis University and donate a lot of equipment and a lot of computing resources to schools and education institutions in need. So, you know, we're trying to do our part, and we're trying to give back as much as we can based on success we've been able to create for us, for ourselves. So, our story is maybe a little shorter, but also interesting, I think, in its own right. And you know, I'll save some more for later, but I'll pass the mic.
Good evening. It's quite something to come after all these incredible panelists. My name is Alex Hyman. I'm a general partner with Less Annoying Software. That's our real name. You know, how many names of companies actually try to tell you what they are and their promise to you in their name? We currently make a CRM, a customer relationship manager product. It's a software product for small businesses. That is our exclusive focus. The average size of one of our customers is a 2-employee company across every imaginable platform, from real estate agents to travel planners to community magazines. Actually every category of business up here is a category within our customer base. We have over 3,000 companies that are currently using our CRM in 60 different countries. In almost every state, 2 more states we're trying to get a customer in to complete the U.S. We were founded in San Francisco, California, and moved here a year ago. I'm not from St. Louis, but I've made St. Louis my home. The company right now is based right downtown on Olive. We moved to our own space out of the T-Rex building a month ago. We're very excited to engage here in the community. Our customer is of every shape, size, gender, ethnic background, because everyone is involved in entrepreneurship, in social enterprises, in every aspect of our community, and everyone needs to be able to track their customers and their relationships and their vendors. And so we offer a low-cost product, a $10 per month per user product, and its biggest focus is to treat our customer, our small business, the way they want to be treated, which is like an equal. And they don't want to be treated, you know, in the grand scheme where a lot of companies are used to interacting with 500 or 1,000-person companies and kind of shoo away the single entrepreneur business. So we're a small company out there for other small companies and other businesses. We'll get to our light bulb moment later.
It's always interesting branding, and I do love a company's name that is very descriptive of what they do. The Mission Center, we actually employed after launching with the moniker of "We Suck Less," because that seemed to be kind of what we were competing against. But speaking of competition, you see as we go down the road that there was a conversation about, well, you know, I'm not quite as amazing as this, or you know, my particular role is a little different than that. One of the things that I truly appreciate most about the ecosystem, which is kind of the term we use to describe the entrepreneurship and innovation community, is that the thought leaders like Travis, and he represents them so well, it really is a level playing field. And this old orientation towards, you know, if you're not high tech, if you're not IT, you know, if you're not ultimately scalable and going to make $1 billion, then you're not worth our support, has fundamentally been thrown out the window by this new generation of leaders. And I can't stress enough that we're not here to put ourselves against each other, we're here to support each other, right? And all of you are fulfilling a really interesting, important niche. And what you saw was there's no overlap, right? And that's really the key, which what we don't want to see is you got a bunch of entrepreneurs doing the same thing, wasting our resources and our time and their energy and their time, right? So I just want to make that comment that this is a level playing field, and all of you deserve the rounds of applause as you already received. So, 15 minutes left. That's my fault, of course. I want to bounce through really 4 questions that we've got posed, and some of you addressed this kind of light bulb moment. But Keith, why don't you take that one on? What, light bulb, inspiration, and what really got you into this work? And then maybe what's like a recent light bulb, or a recent inspiration that's kept you in the work?
Okay, the light bulb that went off for me was, of course, 6 years ago we launched the magazine. A friend of mine who actually helped start the magazine with me was like, hey Keith, we don't have a voice as, young African Americans. The publications here, they're either, talking West County, they're not really talking about us, like what should we do? And that was kind of like the aha moment when it was like, what, you're right, there's no one in that genre, no one has that niche, there's no one giving us that voice of saying what we like and what we do and what we have accomplished. So we just kind of jumped out there literally on faith, because we started the magazine. From that conversation, it took us 90 days to start the magazine. I had no idea what I was doing. Went to school with finance background, writing, no, my English was poor, I couldn't take a picture, it was horrible, but I found the people around me to make it happen. And actually I have 2 employees, I might call them people that work with me in the back. Keith Willis, my sales manager, and a staff writer, Oliver, are here supporting me. And without guys like that and gals like that, there's no way Deluxe Magazine would still be able to function. A light bulb moment that just recently happened like 30 seconds ago.
Yeah.
I'm sick of my CRM, so I'm going to be talking.
You might have gotten 2 customers actually there with this.
Actually, for reasons.
That chill is out the window, dude. I'll talk to you after this.
Well done, well done. Yeah, very seriously though. You probably picked up a couple of clients here. Tom, same question. What's an inspiration, what's a light bulb moment for you, either before launching the company or after?
So light bulb moment for me, it might sound kind of selfish, but I think the light bulb moment for me was that I realized that I'm capable. So the age-old industrial mindset is you go to school, you get a job, you work the job, 30 years, 40 years, you retire. My family had a very heavy farming and industrial background. The most entrepreneurship I saw around me was, a couple of uncles started a restaurant that failed miserably, and maybe a bar here, a bar there. So, for me, I think I was always interested in it. I always kind of had these visions in my head of like how we could improve things, how we could do things differently, how I could make an impact more so than just working for somebody. And I've always been somewhat individualist and kind of did my own thing. And so for me, the light bulb moment really was I'm capable. And I had to spend a lot of time the first few years in the business to get out of my own way. And realize what I'm good at and what I'm not, surround myself with people that complement my weaknesses, focus on my strengths, and for me, a light bulb moment I think recently, I'll say, is we did an all-team communication event. We call it our State of the Union. For the first time in the history of GoodellNet, in my role as CEO, I felt like I might actually know what I'm doing. So everybody looks to Tom, CEO, right? I have all the answers, and I don't know what I'm doing half the time, and I make decisions, and I live with those decisions, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't, but I have to act like I know what I'm doing. And so in that moment, I'm in front of the entire team. In 4 short years, we went from 2 of us to 44 of us. We have 3 locations, so we've grown rapidly, right? So I'm in front of the entire team, and I'm talking, presenting our vision, and the excitement in the room, I think, was sort of an aha moment for me, like, hey, I might actually know what I'm doing. Not only did I realize I was capable, but I might have actually achieved something here. So I think for me, the moment was, hey, we can actually do something and make an impact and do something bigger than, just kind of follow the path that maybe was laid out for us. Realized, back to the question that Travis brought up, how else could we, or what else could we do to approach our role in the world, right? So that's my light bulb.
Love it. Well, one of the things that you'll hear from one of the things that I think you'll hear from every single one of these panelists, and really any group of panelists of entrepreneurs, true entrepreneurs we can bring together, is the humility and the recognition that it really is not about us, right? That we come to the table with very particular skill sets and inspirations and light bulbs, but if it was not for the teams, right, the people that are willing to surround themselves with our vision, we can have all kinds of light bulbs, right? that humility, and I would certainly say for myself, that the recognition and the honoring of weaknesses, right? We usually focus on strengths, which is good, but in entrepreneurship, we really have to focus on weaknesses. Like, what am I really, really bad at? Like, keeping time, right? Which is fine. Anyway, moving on. What obstacles did you run into, and how did you overcome them? And Jamila, I want to start with you on that. It's a big question, I know.
I spoke to earlier just the amount of naturopathic practitioners in Missouri, and I initially perceived that to be an obstacle, which I do not feel that it is anymore, but that was the one kind of speaking piece I would have. Like, there's no support, so to speak, but I've worked on finding and creating the supports. And when you're talking about a team, and I found some just great, like, chiropractors, or I have some really close colleagues who are medical doctors, and so I just kind of fought to create that kind of desert of naturopaths that I thought was there, but no longer exists. So.
Same question to Khalifa.
I think one of the biggest obstacles that we face is that there are not enough individuals who are qualified in our industry. This has not been a location in the Midwest where there has been excessive training for competent, qualified, educated professionals to come into this industry. You'll see most massage therapists, licensed estheticians on the West Coast or the East Coast. In the Midwest, it's not been a normal lifestyle, nor has it been a health and wellness decision for the clientele. So you don't see as many individuals going into the training of this and becoming licensed and educated, which means for us as owners of a franchise, sometimes our pool of applicants is very limited. And then even when we do get those applicants, because there has not been the respect of the profession, the educational institutions are sending out individuals ill-equipped to do the job as professionals. And what I mean by the job is not the manual part of the job, but the job skills, the work ethics, the determination to see that you have chosen a profession, that this is now not a job but a career that you have to be attentive to, and that you have to always be a lifelong learner. So for me as a former education administrator, it can be a challenge to know where their deficits are and want to move them to that level, but they don't have the will within themselves to see that it is necessary to always be about the business of learning and be about the business of exploring their career beyond just coming in and doing their clients, which they do a great job at taking care of their clients, but sometimes I just want to push them to this next level that say, you too can be better and greater than you walked in. But it requires you to have that inside yourself to want to go about doing it. So that's one of the biggest challenges. The other challenge for us is that it would have been great to have Kalimba at Delphi Spa Arama or some wonderful name like that, right? But we chose to go the franchise route. The franchise, though it has the brand recognition and it has a turnkey system, sometimes that system does not always match the values that I have. Sometimes that brand does not match the work ethics and the integrity that I possess, nor the character that I possess. And there becomes conflict on whether you do you or you do what is required under the agreement of your franchise contract. So those can sometimes be challenges of how do you walk the fine line of being a franchise and being your own person who owns this business and responsible for this $500,000 loan and company, and still have to answer to when you're supposed to be independent of, but you're connected to. So those can be a challenge. So I would tell anybody that's interested in getting into a franchise, think it over, and think it over hard. And not only prepare for your success, but more so be prepared for your challenges, your failures, and also your disappointments. Because, the reality is people disappoint. family, friends, co-workers, or your clients. They disappoint. You might not always have the child care, the dollars, people don't always pay their bills, all of those things. So a lot of times people say, oh, I'm afraid of the success, but really you need to be concerned about how do you manage, operate through all of the challenges that you sometimes don't foresee. Don't go in the clouds of, oh, it's so wonderful, it's successful, I have a business, because the reality is your home bills still need to get paid, and sometimes nobody gives a dang on about your home bills. They care about what they're interested in that day, that moment, and at that time.
And your bills get paid last, don't they?
So anybody that's available to adopt me, I don't talk back much. Not much.
I don't believe that, actually. So next question. How has the St. Louis community supported your effort? And let's go with Alex.
I was hoping you'd give me a question like that one.
I did it on purpose.
Yeah. So I'm from the Metro Detroit area originally. I lived in Washington, D.C. for 6 years, and now I've lived here for the last 5. I came here for grad school and stayed. The St. Louis community is one of the best in the country. I was in Florida this morning and this past couple of days for work. I'm going to Texas in a couple of days, all for Les Anoying CRM. I've interacted with people across every imaginable spectrum, and this community has the best mix of people with what I also would try to argue all the time is the best combination of factors that makes the St. Louis region one of the best places to raise a family or to grow a business. So I'm always trying to compete to be the best advocate for the region as a transplant. So many other transplants are in here that want to compete on who cheerleads the best. We can compete later. It's on, absolutely. So the way that the St. Louis community has helped us is that they recognize that, hey, you're not from here originally, and what can we do to help? We probably had 30 or 40 different people in every imaginable spectrum of the innovation community, entrepreneurship community, and even not from within these communities ask us, do you need help finding housing? Do you want any recommendations on restaurants? Do you want to understand the education landscape here for, as you guys all start having kids? The factor that makes this community so wonderful are the people. And for us as a business, it's hiring. So we moved from San Francisco to here as a result of an Arch Grants process, and we won an Arch Grant last year, which is what brought us here. Arch Grants, for any of you that don't know, is a $50,000 equity-free grant. It's given out to 20 startups every year. It's in year 4 right now. And for basically the one deal is you come to St. Louis and base yourselves here for at least a year. So we're past our year, and we want to grow into a company that is significant and always based here in St. Louis. But for us, it was an ability to hire the talent that we needed. So we came here, there were 3 of us full-time when we basically started considering St. Louis, and now there are 10 of us. So all of those people we hired here in St. Louis, and up to 10, 4 U City High graduates who were born and raised here, and then 6, including myself, all went here for school in some way or connected to the area, but decided to stay as part of working for our company. So St. Louis has great people, great infrastructure, and all these pieces. And there are certainly problems, but I'm telling you that the best part is what is here, that there are people that want to engage. And from a business perspective, it's talent. If the talent wasn't here, for as much as I want to be a cheerleader, we wouldn't be here. So I'm here to testify that there is incredible talent across every category. You just have to be clever and innovative about how to go out and find it and attract it to your enterprise.
Can we get an amen? Patting our own backs. And Javon, this might not be fair because I don't know exactly what you've had to deal with. What are some of the, we talked about obstacles. What more could this community have done? What more could the ecosystem, and recognizing we're still in the early stages, right? So we have the opportunity to have inflection and actually move the dial on what support does exist. What more could this community have done to support you in your vision? That was a tough one, but I figured you could handle it.
I would say being an entrepreneur, and one of the main things that an entrepreneur needs is capital, and that's one thing that will ruin a business, put you out of business, being severely undercapitalized. And I think that if there was some way for entrepreneurs to have access to capital, and maybe it be through a number of, I can sit here and come up with a number of different ideas, but individuals that have access to capital, financiers, and finding a way to connect those financiers to the actual innovators and entrepreneurs. I think that would have assisted us. We kind of went a different route. And a lot of times when you go through financing, through equity financing, things like that, you have a structure in which you have people that say, hey, I want 51% of your business. And that's one thing that a lot of people are not really willing to give up in the beginning phases of your business in exchange for capital, especially when you feel like your baby is being taken away from you. And so if there was a way for entrepreneurs to have access to capital, I think that would be one. And going back to what I was saying previously, we went a non-traditional route in which we decided to partner with institutions that will be there. And in partnering with those institutions, for example, St. Louis Science Center, Botanical Gardens, they have a substantial amount of capital that comes into those institutions. And we decided that it would be good for us to partner with them because we had a lot of overlap in the things that we were offering to the public. And so by doing so, we were able to capitalize, bring some of that capital into our business that allowed us to grow and expand. And so we're still looking forward to that. But I think if more businesses work together, if you have individuals from different industries working together, collaborating, I think that would assist as well. So from a financial standpoint, but then also from a supportive standpoint, where you may have someone in the financial industry, or you may have someone that's not necessarily in the food industry, someone in the medical industry, something like that. Find a way for them to connect, because there's a number of different resources outside of financing that a lot of entrepreneurs need.
Amen. We're going to break for networking afterwards, and the one thing that, keep in mind, entrepreneurship, innovation, actual studies on this field are still really, really new, nascent, right? But one of the things that's come out in the last year is a really clear understanding that it is networks, it is the interactions of human beings, right? The connections across industries, across the most diverse networks that we bring together provide the highest value. And so I can't encourage you guys enough to take the time afterwards, connect with entrepreneurs, connect with community members, because this is where the rubber meets the road on succeeding in entrepreneurship. We're going to end with the final question, and it's appropriately going to be offered to Janelle. So Janelle, within the law, what advice would you give younger entrepreneurs, lessons that you've learned, right, on how to be successful?
Probably going back to, well, a couple things. Probably going back to what Travis said earlier. To me, it's always been, so I have this 20-year corporate background in sales and sales management, so I've learned that no doesn't necessarily mean no. It's ask me again and again and again. But I think it's about the how can we do this versus can we do this. So I would say for any young entrepreneurs or any entrepreneur that's thinking about starting something, it's not a question of is this viable, but how can you make it viable? And then I think the other advice would be don't be afraid to get your hands dirty and work really, really hard and grow thick skin. And if 10 people tell you it's the dumbest idea they've ever heard of, but you really believe it's a great one on the inside, do it. I created Frenity because it's something I needed, and I talked to a ton of people who were like, but isn't there something kind of like that? I'm like, nope, there's not. And I'm completely passionate about exactly what I've got. And I talked to a lot of people and got a lot of no's, but you just have to keep on going and have that internal passion and don't be afraid to ask for help, because like what Alex was saying and Travis was saying, everybody in St. Louis anybody will have a cup of coffee with you to help you. And I didn't know a thing about writing software or creating what I created, but I had to surround myself with a lot of people who did. And I would say don't be afraid to ask for help or ask for 20 minutes of someone's time to have coffee, because everybody that I know in St. Louis is more than happy to do that. So those are my pieces of advice.
So we got a few minutes left, and we want to make sure we provide the opportunity for the audience to ask a couple questions. So does anybody have a burning desire for any of the entrepreneurs? Yes, sir.
How long did it take you to go from idea to product?
Janelle, you want to take that one first?
Yeah, I think it depends completely on what your business is. Since mine was software and since it was starting literally from scratch, it took me 5 years. And it took me 5 years to put all the pieces together because, again, all I had was a business background to work on. I don't know code, I had 0 investors. So to create the business plan, to get it out there, to pitch it, to do the market research and come up with the financial modeling, it was 5 years, start to finish for me.
Yes, sir.
I was just gonna say, I think the 5 years mark, I think, is interesting to me. I think the rule of 10,000 hours applies in most cases in terms of, I had a mentor to me tell me one time that it takes 5 years to do anything well. And I think my experience would also back that up, that if you're gonna go on a journey, you better be prepared. It's gonna take longer than you think, and it's gonna be harder than you think. And at the end of the day, it's gonna take about 5 years to get that idea off the ground and get the traction that you thought that was possible, next week for people like me.
I would agree with that. This is our 5th year in operations. And by being our 5th year, we're actually seeing a lot more success in this year than we saw in our first few years. The first year, actually the first 5 years were hard. But yeah, the first 2 years, first 3 years really are hard. And you find yourself doubting, yourself a lot. And it requires thick skin. It requires determination. So you just want to make sure you stay focused and have that belief, because there are going to be a lot of people that say, oh, someone else is doing that. Or, yeah, I don't think that's a good idea. And so you have to believe truly in what it is that you're doing. But I would agree, that 5-year mark is pretty accurate.
Yeah. Well, Travis and I are laughing because the rule of thumb is 90% of businesses fail in the first 3 to 5 years. Right. Mission-centered, my 5th anniversary was April 1st. And there's absolutely, and it was funny because you're just like, year 2 is hard. Like, well, year 2 and 3 were hard. Well, year 5 kind of sucked. But year 5 is really, right? The fascinating lesson for me is that and this success is completely arbitrary, right? But in the eyes of the beholder, the more successful you are, the harder you work.
Yes.
The more time you put into it, right? And that was not something that I was expecting. And I'll end with you, Jerron, because because there's key. There's a question about millennials, right? I'm a millennial. We're supposed to switch jobs every 2 years. There you go, right? So if we switch jobs every 2 years, how the hell do we get this type, pardon my language, how the heck do we get this type of grit, right, established, and how do we communicate to the next generation of entrepreneurs?
This stuff, I mean, you just keep going. It's the same thing, it's thick skin, don't stop, because there's definitely sleepless nights, negative bank accounts. I mean, it's all that. I think that's all that's just everything when you first start, and then, but once the profits start, they start. But it's definitely, hard work and dedication and the lack of sleep. That's one of the main ingredients there.
Yes, ma'am.
I was going to say the other thing that we all need to do that's in our industry when you're starting your business. Make sure that you are willing to keep yourself educated, which means look at industry magazines, go to industry trainings, conferences, talk to people that are in your industry, but also talk to the broader people that can utilize your industry as well, because they have a different view of who you are and what you're doing. But make sure that you're always feeling as though, or at least this is the way I do it. I want to get affirmation that I'm on the right track. I want to get motivation that I might need to have in order for me to go back on the track. And I need to have the energy and the knowledge so that I can always be expert in the track that I'm on. And it always is you're catching up with yesterday, you're trying to deal with today, and you're visioning for tomorrow in the same minute. It's daggone exhausting. However, if you plan on having anything worthwhile, you gotta sometimes do what other people won't do. And they won't do what you'll do if you're an entrepreneur. There are so many people that fail because they're not willing to keep it going. You might be this close, and you won't know if you stop. You might be right there. But you won't know if you stop. So you gotta keep going because one, you never know who's watching you and who's looking to step in your footsteps. You never know. None of us know that I'm watching Keith, that I'm watching. He doesn't know. Nobody knows, but we all are looking at other people and they don't realize the impact that they're having on our lives. And what I would invite you all to do is go to, there's a couple of resources that I found. Enterprise Bank, they have a university, free classes. Anybody like that word? I love that word. Free. They're free classes, which means that's also free networks. You have to expand your network of people that you're dealing with. If you're dealing with the same people that think the same way and give you the same response, you're not growing. So you need some people that challenge you. So they have free classes all the time. You also can go to the universities. Sometimes they do have free conferences that they do as well. Go through the Business Journal, they have free classes. You just gotta keep moving forward. And if people are talking to you negative, move away from them quickly because they will crush your spirit if you allow them to. And if you give permission for other people to crush your spirit, crush your dreams, you won't have them. You'll have their dreams. And their dreams will never satisfy you. At least that's the way that I live. I wanted to invite everyone while we have it. We do what's called a relaxation happy hour mixer. You bring your business cards. We're socially involved. Keith has been a part of it. We do a non-for-profit sponsor, a non-for-profit organization once a month. We give them an opportunity to have a platform to talk about their non-for-profit organization, but also to request any contributions, whether it be time, volunteer time, whether it be supplies, like for June, we're doing the Father Support Center. They need ties, socks, and dress shirts for these guys to go and interview. So every month, come and have a little bit of, networking, come get a massage, it's only $10 to get in, get some refreshments, get a deluxe magazine while you're there, issues, and we'll just network with other people because we want everybody to bring their business card. This is not, entrepreneurialism is not a solo effort. And if you think that you have to do it by yourself, you're going to fail. So you got to ask the question. And sometimes as entrepreneurs, it's hard to ask for help. I don't know about any of y'all, but it was hard sometimes to ask. So I asked everybody, because I'm getting ready to ask all of them in a second.
Well, and you actually get the award because the number one thing I always tell my students is never leave an opportunity to talk to a group of people without an ask. Right? And it could be nothing more than we'd be willing to introduce me to somebody else, right?
I'm asking
We've
y'all
had
to
coffee
come
with them.
every day. We're open 7 days a week, 96 hours waiting on one of y'all to show up and your family members.
Right? So we get proud.
I think, correct, one of the most consummate entrepreneurs in this room, although she didn't really kind of come about this thinking along those lines, right? But Christy, you want to take us out?
Right. Yeah, sometimes I say it's either ambition or insanity, right? Yeah.
Well, irrational optimism is
Irrational,
actually
right.
the data.
Right. So I want to thank each of you for being here and sharing your time and your stories and your expertise. It's incredibly inspiring to be in your presence. And thank you all for coming tonight. What we're trying to do here is to create a network and a community of support to ask each other and ourselves, what are the ways we can, in what ways can we, not, asking how can we, and of course, how can we make their world better, our students and our children and our communities and neighborhoods. So we want to continue to build this network, so I invite you to continue to connect with us and with each other. I want to give a quick shout out, Max, before you leave. One of the things that we do here is that we really try to foster leadership and independence and innovation among our students. And Max Nelson is one of our 7th graders. Our junior high students have a business committee, and they have started Guard t-shirts and sweatshirts and lots of things that they've made. Do you want to say what else you guys have for sale?
So basically we sell everything like under allowance price.